The fight game is very much one that's fought on the microphone nearly as much as it is in the cage. You can be one of the best in the world, but if you're not a captivating speaker, you might find yourself getting passed up by lesser fighters. And as this need to spit venom increases, the boundaries continue to be pushed, sometimes much further than they should. Today we're counting down 10 such occurrences when trash talk got a bit too real and went from promotion to poor taste. I'm Tommy from MMA On Point, and these are the 10 times fighters got way too personal. Number 10. Mike Perry ruins lives. Oftentimes, after a particularly nasty knockout, you'll see the best of martial artists. Fighters checking up on their opponent and showing concern for their health. At the end of the day, most of these sports athletes wish no permanent damage on their opponents. Enter Mike Perry, who has a pretty long history of saying some wild shit. He was paired with Jake Ellenberger at UFC Nashville. The 8-year veteran was about as controversial as Blue's Clues, and having lost 6 of his last 8 fights, fans knew the end was near. They were just hoping for a smooth exit. Perry landed one of the most brutal elbow KO finishes in the sport's history, followed by Jake hitting his head hard on the canvas. The phrase "a scary KO" certainly applied, especially considering this was Ellenberger's 5th KO TKO loss in the UFC, which is why some felt Perry's post-fight comments were a bit douchey.
I want to ask y'all whose life y'all want me to ruin next?
I mean, they haven't even got him in the back to see what state he's in yet, Mike. Holy shit. Not to mention, this very well could have been the end of his career. Ellenberger didn't seem to mind the comment in an interview he did with MMA Junkie, but that doesn't make what Mike said any less classless. Number 9. Angela Magana talks shit, gets hit. Social media is a powerful tool, one that many a fighter has used to advance their career and get some attention on their name. Sometimes, though, a social media campaign can backfire when you run into the wrong one in real life. Angela Magana learned that the hard way by regularly targeting Chris Cyborg, like this tweet where she compared her to Jigsaw. There's punching up, and then there's going after one of the greatest female fighters ever. Wouldn't you know it, the two would be in the same place at the same time during the 2017 UFC Athlete Retreat in Las Vegas, and this would happen.
Fuck you. Oh my god!
Most fighters sided with Cyborg in this classic case of watch your damn mouth. Magana threatened civil action, but never went through with it, and following the incident, she was barred from her gym, Alliance MMA. Cyborg would only be cited for misdemeanor battery. The charges dropped after she completed an anger management course. She did lose a sponsor over the incident, but she claims they hadn't paid her anyway, so no big loss there. In a Facebook post, Chris pointed the finger at Dana White's past disparaging remarks as reasons lower-tier fighters feel comfortable insulting her. Magana was cut from the UFC a few months later, following her 3rd straight loss in the promotion. Number 8. BJ Penn to the death. We've heard fighters say the phrase "I'll kill them" plenty of times.
I kill him fast.
And so long as it's used in the right context and without any further detail, usually fans and media will take that to mean I plan on completely dominating the fight, not literally killing their opponent. It's a figure of speech. I mean, after all, we are talking about a pretty dangerous activity here. The prospect of death, while unlikely, is very real, so usually any discussion about killing or death is phrased very carefully. That was not the case for BJ Penn in the lead up to his title fight with George St. Pierre at UFC 94. On the UFC primetime broadcast on Spike TV, a proto-countdown or embedded series, the Prodigy had this to say.
To the death. We're gonna go to the death. I'm not gonna stop. I'm serious, George. I'm gonna go to the death. I'm gonna try to kill you.
Wow, that's some seriously tough language. But surely BJ's just speaking figuratively, right? Surely he's joking.
And I'm not joking about this.
Oh, okay, well, never mind. In Penn's defense, he later explained that they asked him during the interview what his mindset or mentality would be while in the cage. What would he be thinking to himself in that moment? It wasn't meant as a message for GSP, that's just how it was edited and played up. Something that makes a bit more sense in context than Penn seemingly acting like some kind of nut who doesn't understand that MMA is just a sport. Number 7. Israel Adesanya invokes 9/11. Similes are oftentimes a fantastic way of getting a point across. In fact, I use them pretty regularly on this very channel. For example, this use of simile by Israel Adesanya at a press conference leading up to his fight with Yoel Romero at UFC 248 was in as poor taste as a 3-week-old pizza covered in toothpaste.
I'll touch him enough times, and eventually he'll crumble like the Twin Towers.
Too soon?
Yes, it was. Immediately, people took issue with the choice to compare how Yoel would fall to one of the greatest tragedies in American history, including his rival Borrachinha, who called him a disgusting piece of shit on Twitter. Of course, he kept it classy too, ending the tweet with, "I will really kill you, dirty Kiwi." Way to take the high road there, Paulo. Izzy would go on to apologize in his own post, saying, "You speak on the mic enough times and you're bound to miss the mark with some bars. I did on this one, and for that, I'm sorry. I'll be more careful in the future with my words." For the most part, the apology seemed to be well received. Now, if only their actual fight would have been less offensive. Ouch. Number 6. Chael Sonnen's steak preferences. It's one of Chael Sonnen's most famous lines, but most people have never actually heard it, at least not the first time it was said. The American gangster was looking for a rematch with Anderson Silva and went scorched earth anytime someone put a microphone in front of his face following his razor-thin loss to the champion at UFC 117. In the lead-up to his bout with Brian Stann at UFC 136, Chael did an interview on Mauro Ranallo's MMA show and had this to say at the end.
"You tell Anderson Silva I'm coming over, I'm kicking his back door, and I'm patting his old lady on the ass, and I'm telling her to make me a steak, medium rare, just how I like it."
Oh my!
Oh,
no! Oh, no!
The line was quickly condemned by MMA media, but would keep its legs all the way to the week of UFC 148 when the bad guy got his second chance at the Spider, in part because of questions about the line, and in part because of Chael himself repeating variations of it. Strangely, Sonnen always seemed to take umbrage when asked about it.
I never said it. You'll never find that quote anywhere. You'll never replay it. It simply didn't happen.
The quote is actually a variation on an old pro wrestling line, and for Chael, who always played his role like an 80s wrestling heel, it was just another way to sell the card.
Well, first off, I offer absolutely zero apologies. And secondly, listen, guys, if you're not willing to go too far, you will never go far enough in life, and I don't care.
Number 5. DC and JBJ lower the bar. John Jones and Daniel Cormier do not like each other. Not sure if you're aware of that. Here's a snippet of their famous hot mic incident, with John telling Daniel he would literally kill him.
"I would literally kill you if you spit in my face."
Yeah, let's try that, John.
Literally kill you.
Let's try that, John.
That famous clip's same energy has been expressed in countless social media exchanges over the years, but it was a fight that both parties weren't even involved in that brought them both to a new low. Talking about their significant others. After Johnny Bones had his fight with Alexander Gustafsson at UFC 232, moved from Nevada to California following Picogate, Cormier expressed his disapproval on Instagram with a simple Notes app screenshot. JBJ wasn't having any of that in the replies, and in a now deleted comment, of course, wrote, "I could slap your wife on the ass, and you could literally do nothing about it. You're my bitch, DC. That will never change." Now, at this point, Daniel could have taken the high road, looking mighty clean. Jones just had another controversy, and now he's bringing up people's wives, but of course, DC couldn't help but lower himself too, replying, "You couldn't do shit, you steroid-abusing junkie. I swear I would never touch your wife's flat ass, LOL." I'm sure their significant others really appreciated their asses being the center of their public feud. Number 4. Conor McGregor's towel tweet. At the end of Batman Begins, Jim Gordon warns Batman about escalation, and you gotta wonder just where this Conor versus Khabib feud is headed, because we've already had vehicular assaults, post-fight brawls, and while things have gotten way beyond words, that hasn't stopped both sides from throwing some nasty barbs. McGregor is no stranger to shit talk. He is the undisputed king, but he's crossed lines before, like that time he called Dennis Seaver a Nazi. It's okay though, he apologized in baby talk like Andy Bernard.
Andy, sorry.
In April 2019, Conor posted arguably his most controversial tweet ever, which featured a picture of Nurmagomedov and his wife at their Muslim wedding that he captioned, "Your wife is a towel mate." The backlash was swift on this one, and McGregor deleted the tweet. In response, Khabib posted a picture of Conor with a woman and accused him of being a rapist, a reference to the sexual assault allegations detailed by the New York Times last year. The exchange was ugly all around, and this rivalry has escalated considerably since their meeting at UFC 229. Here's to hoping the worst of it was a post-fight dust-up and some tweets in poor taste. Number 3. Frank Mir gets too detailed. We've already talked about murder on this list, but at least Baby J could hide behind the fact that he was speaking to a producer who was asking questions that aren't going to be aired, and so the context of what he said can be interpreted as being less harsh. Frank Mir, on the other hand, doesn't have that luxury. In fact, he seemed to have invoked killing all on his own and was way too specific. On a radio show in 2010, while angling for a third fight with Brock Lesnar, Mir had this to say.
So I want to fight Lesnar. I hate who he is as a person. I want to break his neck in the ring. I want him to be the first person that dies.
due to octagon-related injuries.
Too much detail, Frank. The comment was not well received. In fact, when asked about it via text message by a reporter, Dana White wrote, "Frank Mir is a fucking idiot. I have never heard something so unprofessional and idiotic in my life." DFW really does have a way with words, doesn't he? Mir would issue an apology shortly thereafter. Given the nature of combat sports and its history with detractors constantly pointing towards it being too violent, it's probably best for you and your career to stay away from mentioning premeditated murder. Number 2, Bethe Correia brings up mental health. Bethe Correia played the self-promotion game just about as well as anyone has ever played it, and if you don't believe me, please point to another title contender with her credentials. Just 3 fights into her UFC career, Correia had successfully positioned herself for a title fight at UFC 190 in her native Brazil no less, against superstar Ronda Rousey after taking out 2 of her 4 horsewomen's stable in 2014. In an interview leading up to the bout, Bethe said of Rousey, "Under pressure, she is proven weak. When her mother put pressure on her, she ran away from home. When she lost, it was to drugs. She even suffered from a food compulsion. She's not well in the head. She needs to take care of that. When the truth hits her and she realizes she's not all that, who knows what might happen. I hope she doesn't kill herself." The only thing missing was for her to add like her father at the end. Ronda's reply was simple: "Suicide is not a joke or selling point. My father will be with me the day I hand you the comeuppance you deserve." Bethe replied asking for forgiveness and claiming ignorance about her father, but it should be noted she sure as hell knew a lot about Ronda's past. Whatever the case, the two would have an intense stare down with Correia shouting something inaudible at Rousey. We'd find out what she said after Ronda KO'd her in 34 seconds and repeated it. Don't cry. Number 1, Colby Covington mocks the maimed and dead. The one they call Chaos has had his fair share of tasteless moments. "Brazil, you're a dump, all you filthy animals suck" comes to mind, but Covington would double down on his edgelord persona in the lead up to his ill-fated welterweight title shot against Kamaru Usman at UFC 245. Things started directly after Colby's domination of Robbie Lawler at UFC on ESPN 5 when he took a shot at Robbie's former teammate Matt Hughes.
Hey, let's talk about the lesson we learned tonight. It's a strong lesson that Robbie should have learned from his good buddy Matt Hughes. You stay off the tracks when the train's coming through, Junior.
Who says you can't kick a man while he's down? Hughes would, in a later Instagram post, praise Covington and joke about the 2 years of absolute hell he went through after being hit by a train in 2017. Life is weird. Now guaranteed a matchup for the title, the day after the Lawler fight, Colby appeared on Submission Radio to start his campaign against Usman by taking a shot at the champion's recently deceased manager and the founder of the Black Zillions, Glenn Robinson.
So the guy's a piece of shit, man. I mean, he was ducking me so long when Glenn Robinson was his manager that Glenn Robinson died from it because he was ducking me so hard and wouldn't fight me.
Apparently the joke didn't land as well as Covington wanted the first time, so he tried again at the UFC 245 press conference.
"I know you gave Glenn a heart attack for all those years you were ducking me, so don't worry, he'll be watching from hell on December 14th.
Robinson's daughters reached out to MMA Junkie about the matter, saying the death of our father is still very raw. Our family is still grieving from the loss, so imagine the hurt we felt to hear such hateful words recklessly said about our father. Nerd Bash 2019. Thanks for watching. Please give us a like and subscribe. We've got 3 new videos or more for you every single week. Let us know what you thought of the video in the comments below. Huge shout out to Max Randall for editing this video together. Follow him on Twitter at Max_Randall. Follow On Point MMA on Twitter, and have yourself a wonderful day.